Squad Busters is full of pay to win, but today I'm gonna show you 25 tips to defeat them as a free-to-play player. Okay, so you might be struggling playing this game free to play, but I've been playing this without paying for consumables or megas for a while. And I'm in the ladder, I think right now I'm in top 300, hopefully. But the reality is that there is a lot of people paying for this game. And there is a lot of people on the top ladder that pay to do this. You cannot blame them because, I mean, Supercell enabled this, right? They just want dough. But in order to get up there and in order to enjoy the game more, you need to understand a little bit more of the game. So I'm breaking this video or these 25 tips into 3 sections: economy, game mechanics, and strategy. So if you've already seen my economics video, maybe you want to skip through it a little bit faster, and so you can check the chapters below. Okay, I'm gonna get the first tip out of the way really quickly. Spend your coins on chests. Everybody knows it. Every YouTuber in the world will tell you the same. Buy chests, don't buy anything else. Tip number 2. When you are going to actually spend some money on the store, make sure that you check the offers and you do maths on it. Sometimes Supercell puts this 2x value, 3x value, 40% off, but it's not true. So do the math. Look at this one over here. It's actually completely opposite. The best deal is the 33%, which is the daily deal, instead of the 2x value, which is actually like no discount. Alright, tip number 3, and this one is super controversial because everybody will tell you refresh your winning streak, you get more rewards. That's just bullshit. Don't do it. Don't renew your winning streak. It's a waste of coins for free-to-play players. You know what you can do if you lose your winning streak? Well, keep playing without opening chests. Then once you have your 10 win again, buy chests and keep playing. Don't waste your coins. Tip number 4. Well, it's very tempting to open all your rewards, especially when you move through the journey, through the squad league, through the gem path. It's tempting to open it. But don't open them all at once. If you don't have time, what happens if you accidentally claim some tickets? You will lose precious time. So just claim them when you know you're gonna use them, especially those doubles of the chests. Tip number 5. As free to play, we're gonna get some consumables and we're gonna get some megas. So save them for emergencies. Say for example you are in a game match with a bunch of the top players. You know they are gonna use consumables. They are forced to do it. So save those consumables for those emergencies, just when you're losing, just when you know you're gonna lose, or somewhere if the map requires you to do so. For example, if it's the one with the aggressive binds that close from minute 1, then maybe that's the time to use those consumables. Right, tip number 6. So I know I said don't spend your coins on anything else but chests, but there is an exception to it. If you find in the store a deal that gives you a baby and that baby helps you get to classic and to super, it's actually a good idea to spend it there because it will give you not just 100 portal energy, it will give you actually 300 because it's the 100 for the baby to classic and 200 from the classic to super. Tip number 7. Don't open Tara rewards if you don't have time. Some of these rewards actually contain chest doublers. So if you actually have to leave right away, or just waiting for an appointment or waiting for someone, or you're just squeezing out a quick game, don't open Tara rewards. Just open them when you have sufficient time to use those rewards. Okay, so let's move now to the game mechanics. And this is super important because game mechanics actually bring you from being in the 10th position to being top position, for example. Let's start with tip number 8. So tip number 8 is understanding how the boots work. The boots not only make you run fast, but they also make you attack fast. But I bet you didn't know that it also helps you farm faster. So if you have boots with Gregs and farming crops with maybes, the boots actually help you do that faster. So don't abuse the boots and use them very, very wisely. Alright, tip 9, I'm gonna get it out really quickly. So spell cancel, if you didn't know it, you can just click the spell and drag it off, and that will cancel the spell. Don't waste them. Tip number 10. It is super important for you to understand what is your squad going to attack. And what is going to attack is what is closest to that area or that circle where your units are gathering. So if you want, for example, Greg to farm the trees as a priority instead of attacking enemies, then what you have to do is position your squad right in the middle of the tree. Alright, tip number 11. So this one I'm gonna get it out there really quick because everybody talks about it as well. Sometimes you don't have time to farm, or sometimes there are not enough suppliers. So what you have to do is actually use your spells to farm. Like you can destroy trees or crops with bombs, and it will yield somewhat similar to what you will do by using the actual supplier units. Tip number 12. Spells that cast towers like cannons, furnaces, Xbows, actually, when they disappear, when their time is done, they yield coins. So if you put cannons, don't forget where you put them, because once they are done, you can farm their coins. If you see enemies putting cannons, then destroy them and get those coins. Right. Tip 13. And this is thanks to API Royale. You can see their link down there on the description, but this is something that I never understood what was happening until I actually saw the numbers. So what is better, healing or rage? Well, the best one is actually healing. If you have two squads fighting, healing heals faster than rage actually gives you a bonus attack. So on very specific situation that doesn't work, but 99% of the time, if you have a rage and the other guy pops healing, just run away. Well, so remember on tip number 12 where I said that towers yield coins like furnaces and cannons? Well, there are two types of towers that are extremely hard to defeat. So for tip number 14, I'm gonna tell you to leave Xbows and furnaces alone. They are way too strong and you can only destroy them at the end of the game. So don't go for them, you're just gonna waste your time. Tip number 15. So if you are running away from an enemy and you use a spell, don't throw the spell backwards where the enemy is. Throw the spell forward where you're going to be. If the enemy has a max or is using the boots to run away faster, chances are you're gonna miss the spell if you shoot anywhere else except in front of you. Now, if it's the opposite situation and you're just trying to boss an enemy squad, it's better to use the spell as a surprise element as opposed of an element to chase, because chances are you're gonna miss. Right, and that finishes our list of economics and mechanics. So now we're gonna move to game strategy, which for me is actually the most important for free to play. So these last 10 tips are key to staying on the top 5 as a free to play player. So let's start with number 16. If you are committing to ganking or busting a squad, don't chase too far, especially at the beginning of the game, because every second that you spend trying to chase someone is 1 second that you don't spend farming coins. So you have to make a balance of it. If your squad is worth 3 coins, maybe it's not worth ganking at all. But if your squad is worth 50 coins, maybe chasing for more than 10 seconds is not worth it, because in those 10 seconds you could have gotten those 50 coins. Right, tip 17. For 17 is actually quite important, because this is talking about ganking. So if you're going to bust squads, as a free-to-play player, it's really hard to start and initiate, but it's really good if you see actually 2 teams fighting each other. So if there is a fight or someone is chasing someone else, your mind will tell you go for the weak one, it's easier to defeat, but don't do that. Actually go for the strong one. The reason behind that is because the weak team is already weak, it's not a threat to you. The strong team, on the other hand, is showing a lot of advantage. So if you manage to squish or bust some units of that stronger squad, it will become a less and less of a threat. If it's a pay-to-win player, you are doing it right, because you are completely negating the fact that they have 1 extra fusion unit or 2 extra fusion units per match. So gank on the strong one, not the weak one. Alright, tip 18. Sometimes we bust a boss or bust some units or farm a plot, and it gives us a lot of rewards. But there is one tiny pay-to-win player up there looming around waiting for us to pick those coins. Be mindful, it's better to lose coins than to lose your squad members. So be very careful. It's better to run away and don't get that reward as opposed to staying there and being ganked and lose 2-3 units of your squad. Alright, tip 19. You know how the map starts closing as we progress in the game? Well, turns out that the closer it gets to the center, actually a lot of the enemies, a lot of the NPCs start coming to the center. So if the map is closing in, try to stay to the corners of the edge or those initial plots, because there will be a lot of NPCs coming that way, and that's a lot of coins. It can give you a massive advantage instead of just staying in the middle competing with a bunch of the pay-to-win players. Right, tip number 20. Well, so tip number 20 is something that you need to learn how to read the situation. So boots actually work all the time. The moment you press the boots will start counting down. But you have to read the situation of when to use them, because sometimes the enemies will start or initiate with a bomb, or they will land a bomb of you, or maybe the map will raise up the spikes in the royal world and impale you and you will be stunned. Don't press the boots right there. Just let the button off, wait till your units can move and then move. Okay, we've made it to the last 5 tips, and for me these ones are super important. So tip number 21 is probably one of the most important ones. I left the best one for last, so stay tuned for that one. But 21 is all about running away. So you are running away because a pay-to-win player is chasing you and there is no chance for you to win. So your mind tells you go to a chest. Well, don't. That's definitely the #1 cause of being busted in a squad busters. If you go to a chest and open a chest, you're gonna lose 1 or 2 seconds while you select a new unit. What happens in 1 or 2 seconds? Well, your enemy can use a spell, your enemy can press the boost while you can't, and it will boost your squad faster than anything else. What can you do instead? So there are 3 techniques that I use to run away. #1 technique is go into the map elements, like for example the spikes in the royal world. You can just go into them, wait a little bit, and when they come up, just run away. So 1 or 2 of your units of your squad can escape, and so the enemy gets stunned there, and so you can do that. The second thing that you can do is actually run into other squads. So if someone's chasing you, run into a stronger squad. It doesn't matter. Worst thing that can happen is they bust you. But best thing that can happen is actually they get distracted, fight each other, and then you can escape in the middle of the chaos. And last but not least, is a little bit difficult to do, but when you have a big squad or you have a squad of small units, you can run into the corners and stun your own units to actually let some of them escape. So when you do that, your squad kind of like splits apart and the enemy focuses on the ones that are left behind, while one little one can escape all the way to the bottom and squeeze through. That way you will save yourself. Remember that when they bust your units, you don't give all your gems at the same time. Actually, the one that has the most gems is the last one. So even if you have 1 unit alive at the end, you can still make it to the top 5. Alright, tip 22. So remember in the previous tip I told you not to open chests while you're running away? Well, there is an exception to that rule, and is if, only if your squad is kinda similar to the enemy squad, or if it's very tanky, because then the chest can yield you extra damage, a wizard, Pam, whatever you get is actually gonna be better. And there is an extra tip to that, because if for example you guys are fighting tanks, then you can go to where the tanks spawn and just park yourself there, because as he destroys or she destroys your tanks, tank actually picks up the new tank and renews everything again, so it kind of like becomes immortal. Tip number 23 is gonna sound super basic, but it's actually something that everybody fails to do at least once or twice when they play, and it's understanding and reading the squad that you're gonna get before the match. This game is a roguelike, so things are gonna be random. You're gonna get units random. And if you don't know what's the pool of units that you can get, you might be waiting for that trader to come and save you, but the trader will never come because he was never on your squad, but you just simply don't know or don't remember. So 23, remember, always check your squad before starting a match. Tip number 24. And this one is very important, but it's hard to do because it's all about the map. The map that you're playing makes a crucial decision on what to do within the match. And sometimes we get suppliers, but the match doesn't have enough resources. So let me give you a few examples. Say you have maybes in your rotation, right? But you're playing a map like Proving Grounds. Oh, Proving Grounds has almost very little crops compared to the others. So maybes is gonna be struggling for crops, especially because all the other free-to-play players are also trying to prioritize maybes. So you'll have to form a different strategy. Opposite to that, if you're, for example, playing Twisting Trails, Royal Rumble Yard, or Water Wave Blitz, yes, then maybes is probably a good pick because it has the higher number of crops. You can see on the right, and you can pause here if you want, all the maps with the different resources they have. So try to think about that before you actually start picking your units in one of these maps. Alright, you made it to the end of the video, and this is tip number 25, and for me this is the most important tip for any free-to-play, which is actually hard to understand, but I'm gonna try to explain it here on the right. Always create farming areas when you are a free-to-play player. We have a massive economic disadvantage than the pay-to-win, so we cannot waste time moving around. So you see how typically when you farm, you move unit to unit, try to farm them because the middle of the squad hits it. Well, instead of just running to every unit, try to find areas of multiple things to do. For example, in this video on the right, you see how I position my units while opening a chest, but also destroying some of the NPCs around. That allows me to, while I'm destroying those units, actually see what unit to pick so I don't waste any time at all. If you see now this video here, I actually put Greg in the middle of the tree, but I let my other units to bust the NPCs to optimize the amount of coins I'm gonna get and how I'm gonna clear this area. So remember, last tip of the day and tip 25 is create farming areas. Alright, and that's it for today. I hope you like these tips. The next videos for me are gonna be more around strategy, but if you have any ideas of something that you want to see, please let me know. I hope this video was super useful for all the free-to-play players out there, and if you're a pay-to-win, just do the opposite of what I said here. I'll see you next time. If you like this video, don't forget to click like and subscribe, and see you later. Ciao, ciao.